the Lord. Learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Right away we see here in the scriptures that he's telling them, don't be like the heathen. Don't be dismayed at what you see in the sky and heavens. That's what the heathen do. Okay, 10:3. For the customs of the people are vain, for one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good. Now that's really the gist of what I want you to see here, is these people are, in this time, are cutting pine trees down and pulling them in their house. They're decking it with silver and with gold. They're fastening it with nails to a baseboard or something to keep it standing up. Does that sound familiar? Yep, it sure does. But there is a big difference here. Most of us do it because we're just following the traditions of men. Where did this tradition come from? Well, the Bible's telling us right here. It came from the heathen. And the reason why is because they didn't just pull that tree in their house and stand it up and deck it with gold and with real silver. They did that because they believed that the evergreen, because of it staying green and not losing its leaves, was a god, and they worship that. And see, that's not what God wants us to do. He wants us to worship him and him only, not these false gods. And so there is a big difference in then and now. But here's the thing, we're still doing it to this day, and this is where it started from. Okay, Jeremiah 10:6. For as much as there is none like unto thee, O Lord, thou art great, and thy name is great in might. Who would not fear thee, O King of nations? For to thee doth it appertain. For as much as among all the wise men of the nations, and in all their kingdoms there is none like unto thee. But they are altogether brutish and foolish. The stock is a doctrine of vanities. Silver spread in the plates is brought from Tarshish, and gold from Uphaz. The work of the workmen and of the hands of the founder. Blue and purple is their clothing. They are all the work of cunning men. But the Lord is the true God. He is the living God and an everlasting King. At his wrath the earth shall tremble, and the nations shall not be able to abide his indignation. Sorry, having trouble reading today. Okay, let's stop there and just kind of think about this. They're spreading silver into their plates. They got the blue and purple collars for their clothing, which from my understanding represented royalty. It's all vain, these things are vain. These dishes are going to break. These clothes are going to render. This is not what it's about. That's what the Lord is trying to tell them back then. Not to be like the brutish fools, not to follow their doctrine. It's vain. It's not everlasting. It's not going to save them. It's not what we need to be looking at. Okay, Jeremiah 10:11. Thus shall ye say unto them, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, even they shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens. He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heavens by his discretion. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he casteth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasure. Every man is brutish in his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image, for his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are vanity and the work of errors. In the time of their visitation they shall perish. So yeah, I can see this is going to be about a 3-part series. Well, that was the verses from Jeremiah that I wanted you to really focus on. And I'm going to do my best to put a link there, or actually in the video I'll put the scriptures up there so you can go and kind of read on your own time and really think about this, pray about it, look into it, and ask the Lord what he's trying to show us here. I know it's in the Old Testament, and I know the majority of us who do these traditions, follow these traditions and these vanities, we don't do it because we're worshiping the evergreen, because it stays green all year long and represents a tree that many look at as not dying because it stays green, but it's vain. It really is. And it actually causes a lot of fires in people's homes. So there's really not much good about it. You got pine tree drippings and needles falling everywhere. It's just a big mess. And it's really, if you got kids, you're really just passing on the traditions of the old heathen and what they used to do. And there's nothing wrong with taking a day, and which we should be doing every day, and honoring the birth of Christ. But that should be done every day. We should remember his birth, death, and resurrection every day, not just on December 25th. So here's the thing, y'all. I just want you to take a look at what you're doing and why you're doing it, and maybe you can spice up this worn out old pagan tradition and turn it into something more geared for Jesus and not Santa Claus and his reindeers, because it really is the reason for the season, supposedly, which it's becoming of non-effect anymore in this nation. Now, here are some true things about the birth of Christ. Matthew chapter 2 verse 1. Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he that is born, King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. Well, let's stop right there. Now, I don't know much about geometry, and I don't know much about trigonometry, and I sure don't know anything about astronomy, but this is interesting to me. I'm trying to joke a little bit here. The wise men knew that there was going to be a star in the sky, and that's how they recognized that the king had been born. Now, that's another topic there, but maybe we'll dig into that someday. Interesting at any rate. Matthew 2:3. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and the scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, In Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, And thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. Then Herod, when he had privily called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, and said, Go and search diligently for the young child, and when ye have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also. When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced, exceeding great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary and his mother, and fell down, Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. So we'll stop there. A lot of people use the giving of gifts as remembrance of this scenario, where the three wise men came, fell down, worshiped Christ, presented him with gifts. Now, that's pretty neat. I could go for that. But nowadays, the whole gift thing, it's a money-making game. It's a money-making racket. We got to be careful. I mean, one gift is enough, isn't it? We could really cut back on spending if we were wise about it. No pun intended. Okay. Matthew 2:12. And being warned of God in a dream, they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. When they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeareth to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. Now there's a synopsis of our Christmas or Christmas. It talks about the birth of Christ and some things that happened during his birth. It wasn't all joyful times there. King Herod was, and we can delve into that another time also. I like that word delve. I'll use it a lot, so forgive me ahead of time here and forevermore. But yeah, he ended up having all the children up to a certain age slaughtered, trying to kill Jesus. He was filled with Satan, and Satan thought he could wipe out Christ, but it didn't happen, and it never is going to happen. This is some of the things that secular history has proven to us, and the Bible tells us. It was not a great time in the land. Here's a little more secular history about the evergreen. Ancient Celtic Druids believed the evergreen was sacred and represented everlasting life because it did not shed its leaves as the deciduous trees did. They used the evergreen, holly, and mistletoe to decorate their temples and perform rituals during the winter solstice. Today's Druids continue to recognize the winter solstice. In fact, just in time for the 2013 winter solstice, Stonehenge is reopening after a multi-million-dollar makeover. It is anticipated that modern Druid attendance will outstrip previous years. Yeah, this information's from a while ago, but it's still relevant. That was back in 2013, it looks. Okay, in ancient Rome, the people knew that the winter solstice meant crops would eventually return and food would once again be growing in the fields. They marked the occasion with the feast of Saturnalia to honor Saturn, the god of agriculture. Homes and temples were filled with evergreen boughs to celebrate new growth and fruitfulness. The Vikings believed that cold and evil spirits would come out during the winter solstice. They put wreaths over their doors and brought whole evergreen trees into their homes in order to protect themselves against the evil. The burning of this large tree or log eventually became the Yule log tradition we know today. By the 16th century CE, German Christians were putting up evergreens in their homes as symbols of their Christian faith. Some say this was due to the legend of Saint Boniface, who came to convert the Vikings in the 8th century and turned their traditional pagan rituals using the evergreen into symbols of Christ's triumph over death. The Germans brought their Christmas tree tradition with them to the New World, and community trees were seen in Pennsylvania settlements as early as 1747. The practice did not catch on quickly, as many Americans thought the trees were silly. It took time for the decoration to spread to the rest of America and then throughout the world. Eventually, decorated trees became Christmas tradition as the holiday was popularized by Moore's The Night Before Christmas, Dickens' A Christmas Carol, and Nast's Santa Claus cartoon. So there you have it, folks. This is our first recording. It's going to be a two-part series, the Bible and Christmas, or what the Bible speaks on about Christmas. I'm sure there's plenty of other scriptures related to the whole Christmas tradition. Those really stick out to me, and I think you'll find it interesting once you get in and read up on those scriptures and see how they do correlate with the warnings against traditions of men and the vanities of men and what happened back then, why the tree, the Yule log, and everything else was brought in. It all ties in with the great lie, the lies of Satan, the father of lies. So, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you get to look into it a little further for yourselves. And maybe you'll come up with some traditions that are more Christ-like that you started yourself for the holiday or holy day of Christmas, the remembrance of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and His birth. Thanks for listening. And if you would like to, subscribe, and I'll be trying to get some more topics out as soon as I can. I'll post in the comments anything you'd like to hear about, and I'll try to read through them comments, and we'll pick one or two every now and again and do a research on that. All right. Peace be with you.